when you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Me neither.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Typical NBA.
When it comes to NAL, money does buy you talent, but it doesn't buy you chemistry, leadership, and wins. Look at St. John's, Kentucky, how they're battling. You need the right mix of experience, youth, and new blood if you're going to really tackle the transfer portal market in NIL and win consistently.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here.
All right, Happy New Year. Welcome into 2026. It is in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. We have got you covered for the upcoming Rose Bowl, part 3 of a 4-part playoff that we've had to deal with here over the last 48 hours. And, well, it was an upset last night, and it was an upset, a slight upset, this morning in the Orange Bowl, as Texas Tech, I believe, went off as a slight favorite at the kick over Oregon. The only problem with that, Scott, is that you have to score to win the game, and yet they didn't. 23-0 shutout, and the Oregon Ducks will await the winner of the game we're about to cover here between Alabama and Indiana. So the Dogs, albeit a slight one just a little while ago, 2-0 so far in these playoffs, with Miami winning as a 9.5-point dog last night. Slight dog here, Oregon winning outright. Will Alabama make it 3 for 3 here, Scott, in the quarterfinals? Because, well, they're now getting 7.5. 46.5 as the total continues to also get bet down here. Start with this one. What were you looking at in this game? Because I almost feel like now I got to bet Alabama.
Yeah, right. You got. I think this is a clear case of the amateurs or the typical weekend bettor looking at that line, Joe, saying I'm getting Alabama plus over a touchdown. That hasn't happened, according to the guys on TV. They were talking about that. That hasn't happened since Nick Saban, like before Nick Saban.
Oh.
It never happened. You know, it's rare when Alabama's an underdog anyway. But it's like you got to go back over a decade the last time that they were over a touchdown underdog, right? So all the weekend bettors are probably betting Alabama. All the wise guys must be betting Indiana because otherwise that line would be moving down, and it hasn't. It's been basically 7.5 from the outset. So I've said from the beginning, and it's only been one game, but somewhere along the line, Alabama's inability to run the football. You know, they're 118th in rushing offense this year. There's only about 135, 136, whatever it is, schools that they're 118th. I mean, they are like rock bottom in rushing. And I just said somewhere along the line that's going to come back to haunt them. I'm thinking today is it. They're great defensively against the pass, but Indiana doesn't pass as much as they run the football. That's their forte, not passing, believe it or not, even though they got Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner. So I think it's a bad matchup for Alabama. I think Indiana, who wants to really lay 7.5? But we know Cignetti, right? He has no problem running up the score, up a couple of scores. He'll be throwing the ball fourth quarter. So my initial thought is, give me, believe it or not, Indiana laying the 7.5.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my problem when I looked at this game was the last time we saw Alabama, they were on a neutral site before the Oklahoma game. They were taking on Georgia in Atlanta, and they were getting 1.5. So now you're telling me by giving, Indiana a 7.5 point edge, so you're going to tell me they're 6.5, 7 points better than Georgia on a neutral site? That's the only head scratcher I have here, because how was Georgia 1.5 better, but Alabama's now Indiana's 7.5. So Indiana should just walk right into the finals here and win everything, but they do have to play the game here. And the question is, and we've seen this, Scott, in history, and you know it, the old Heisman curse here. Oh, congratulations on your Heisman, Mr. Mendoza. Yeah. Remember Gino Torretta? Comes to mind. That was great, Gino. Congratulations on your Heisman and your 5 picks in the national championship game. So I'd be a little weary here. I do agree with the total moving down. Forget the side.
Yeah.
I do think points are going to be hard to come by here for both teams.
Yeah. And let's face it, Joe, Mendoza won the Heisman basically by default. They had different guys lined up. And then, whether it was Pavi with Vanderbilt and then he would lose a game, whether it was Alabama quarterback and then he came back down to earth. And it was kind of like, well, who's left standing? Indiana had a great season, so you lean towards finding a player on that. It was kind of one of those things. Like, his numbers weren't like over the top so much better than everybody else. But here, and the other thing is, another bye team lost, with Texas Tech losing, as you mentioned earlier, right? Now they're 0-6. Now it's a little skewed because last year we had that situation where you had Boise State and Arizona State that really weren't ranked. They were actually dogs, even though they got the bye. So there's only really been a couple of games that's really kind of been in play. But the bottom line is the teams that are coming off byes are 0-6, and not only have they lost every single one of those games, Joe, they've only held the lead for a combined less than 5 minutes. That's 6 teams, 6 games. So I don't know if these kids are just not used to having a week and a half, really it's 2.5 weeks off, 3 weeks off. It is kind of hard to get the wagon wheels rolling again, and it's taking these teams a little while. So that leans in towards Alabama, but still I'll take Indiana. Interesting situation in that Kirk Cignetti, Indiana head coach, used to be on Alabama's staff. Alabama's head coach, Kalen DeBoer, used to be on Indiana's staff, not with Cignetti, but before that. So they both kind of like they know each other's opposition there to a certain extent.
And both have been absolute ATS machines in their careers. I mean, Kalen DeBoer has this knack of playing, his teams play their best against better teams, right? 13-3 straight up, 14-2 against the number when he's favored by less than 3 or an underdog, which is impressive stuff. In the meantime, Cignetti, what has he done at the FBS level? I don't know, he's 33-17 against the number in his career in every game. And now the Hoosiers this year are already 2-0 straight up, both as an underdog against top-ranked teams here. So they, too, have played their best against better competition, at Oregon, at Ohio State. So this is going to be very, very interesting. It's a big number, but like you said, the metrics say it's a big number for a reason. I just want to know which Ty Simpson shows up. Does the Ty Simpson show up that we saw after that Florida State game where he's just lighting teams up? Or do we get the, oh, wow, is he hurt? Is he injured? I don't know what's going on. So, I wish Alabama could run the ball, but they haven't been. That's not what this team is this year. And not to mention, they got Grubb and they're going to want to pass it 30, 35 times a game. I don't know how you're going to keep him standing up here. I think that's the big fear for Alabama. Can you keep Ty Simpson off the ground? Because it feels like he's going to get hit a lot today.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a trend player or a numbers player, you're lost because the numbers are phenomenal on both sides. Alabama's 133 and 18. I mean, think about that.
Woo.
Over their last 151, 133 and 18, right? Indiana, meanwhile, is 24 and 2 with Cignetti. He's done just a phenomenal job, right? So you throw those two out the window. You mentioned the spread numbers, both are phenomenal. Any negative number you're going to come up with Indiana is based on Indiana from 3, 4, 5, 6, 20, 30, 40 years ago, where they've been basically awful. So if you're going to put credence into that, forget about it, because this is obviously not the same Indiana team. So it's just the number that really just stares at you, that just begs you to take Alabama with that 7.5. And we need a close game. We haven't had a team win and not cover yet in this postseason and these runs here. So I think Indiana's going to win. I don't like betting on teams I think are going to lose, and that's why I'm siding with Indiana. Not that I think they're going to blow them out or anything crazy like that, but put a 24-14, 27-13 game sneaks under the number. It's a rare favorite and under combination for me today with this game.
I'll say it doesn't, it's certainly overcast. They were worried about rain and maybe the conditions being a little wonky, but they have not been. It's clear. Little breezy, but it doesn't look like it's raining at this point. Field looks like it's in pretty good shape. So we are almost ready for the kick, and we have got you covered. So get ready. 2026 in-game live game day continues on the grid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp, and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Welcome to 2026. Happy New Year's to you and yours. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel here on the SportsGrid Network. In-game live game day as we are getting you ready, of course, and we're watching what is a second sack by the Alabama defense on this opening drive for Indiana. They had a big 3rd and 4. And I got to tell you, not impressive, Scott, because I just watched 3 plays on that defensive front of Alabama. and I watched 3 plays in which the offensive linemen were pushed back 5 yards, like they were half the size of what Alabama has up front. That was pretty physical and pretty impressive there to start for the defense of Alabama. It looks like Indiana has got a punt now, but 2 sacks out of 3 plays. That's a good sign for the Alabama defense and our under in this particular case.
Yeah, and unders really, Joe, have dominated this postseason. You know, I got the numbers here, including the Texas Tech game from earlier. Favorites are 26-12 straight up. That's about the norm, winning every 2 out of every 3 or so. Only 20-18 against the spread, so that's been basically 500. Unders and overs, 16 unders or 16 overs, 22 unders. And even more impressive as far as the unders are concerned, first half unders have been on just a tear. Overall, it's 24 first half unders, only 13 overs, and then more importantly, 20-8 the last 28 games. So there's been a lot of, whether it's just rust, whether it's non-interest, whatever the point is, these teams have not scored that much in the first half. And if we're going to get what we got in that first, set of downs from Indiana, that under 46.5 is looking halfway decent, especially the first half when it was 23.5, 24.5, depending on where you did your shopping. Just taking these teams a while. It's taking them a good half to kind of get the offense rolling.
Yeah, and we'll see if there's anything to that theory with, having a week off and having to play a game. I mean,
Yeah.
Bama had to go back to OU, to Norman, handle business. That's why they're here. Indiana, with the number 1 seed, got to hang out. But I can tell you this, one of the themes that we're seeing here also is physicality. And those teams that are winning in the trenches, like Miami did last night. I mean, Miami made Ohio State look absolutely ridiculous with how physical they were and how they dominated up front here. And that's going to be the key here. We saw Oregon do it too. And as good as Texas Tech's defense is, and they are elite, they were just on the field 3/4 of that game earlier. They were put in awful positions, and they still, quite honestly, you would have given me an average defense guy with as many times as they turned the ball over in their own end. There might have been 50 points on the board scored with Oregon. So I give the Texas Tech credit, that defense credit, but my goodness, that Oregon defense made Texas Tech's offense look like a JV team. They were just beating them at the point of attack. They were pushing them around. Every time they were in the backfield, and Texas Tech, what happened? They had no answer for what Oregon defensively was doing. We knew they could hang defensively, Texas Tech, but what the hell was that? McGuire, what do you get? Like a 9-year extension before this? And that is what you showed up with here today? What? I mean, Oregon is good. Don't get me wrong defensively, but they look like world beaters in that game against Tech.
I mean, James Madison scored 3.5 touchdowns against them. So if they put that into perspective, right? I mean, they couldn't throw the ball. Morton was the one key to me that is like, is he really good? Is he like championship? We know he's good, but is he championship good? That was always the caveat with me with this club. And, he showed today he was at 137 yards passing. He was under duress. Maybe it wasn't his fault. Inexplicable turnovers. The guy's getting tackled at the 10-yard line. He just makes a spin move and he loses the football. Gives, Oregon a short field. I mean, it's just like dumb penalties like that and turnovers like that. But ultimately, they couldn't move the ball. And even all that, it was still 13-0. Fourth quarter, early fourth quarter, with Texas Tech with the football with a chance to score and kind of get back in. And they still couldn't. They still couldn't end up losing 23-0. So it's just, man, I've never seen an offense, supposedly be so good. Remember, early on in the season when they were putting 40, 50 points on the board like it was nobody's business? Once they started facing real competition, it did slow down a little some, but I was hoping I had that 100-1 ticket on them from the beginning of the season, and maybe it was more hope than actual thing. But I was hoping they were going to win today. But man, never. I thought maybe, Joe, once they got into halftime, they said, "Listen, we just played the worst first half of the season, and we're only down 6.
I agree.
We're down less than a touchdown, so no big deal, guys.
Yep.
Take a deep breath, get used to it. All right, now let's go out and play Texas Tech football." But it just never happened. It just never happened. Like I said, 137 yards passing the entire game, an entire game in which you were trailing. In a throwing mode, they couldn't get it done.
They were the number 2 scoring team in the country, Texas Tech. They were, I mean, Scotty, they beat everybody by 22 points or more, except for the one game they lost, which was Arizona State. But they had their even their backup quarterback put up points in that game. And, I mean, they averaged 42.5 points a game, 5th nationally in yards per game, 480 yards a game. What? Nothing. Like, all they did well was turn the ball over 4 times, 2 fumbles lost, 2 picks, 1 in the end zone. And you're right, Scotty, it felt like they were, if they could just put it together for one drive, they were one score away for most of that game from being right back in it. And nothing. All they did well was turn the ball over here. That was all they did. We almost got a turnover here, but it looks like, no, out of bounds. So Alabama did have some success moving the ball here. It looks like, I believe they'll have a field goal opportunity, it looks like, as they're right around the, I guess maybe it's a little too far. They were at the 40. It might be a little too far there. So what do you do here? Do you go for it? Do you punt it? You play the field position?
Yeah, you got to punt. It's 4th and 14. So it would be like, it was 4th and 4, maybe I would. By 4th and 14, I don't want to give them the ball midfield, basically, if I don't get it. So, yeah, it's one of those like, shucks, but you have to punt it from the 41.
Yeah, well, the way that defense looks, and boy, oh boy, they're inside the 5-yard line. That's where Indiana will start. That's what we'll have when we get back. Come and join us here in Game Live, Game Day, New Year's Day here on the Grid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp, and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got a Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in on this New Year's Day, 2026 college football playoffs underway. It's been an interesting start here. Kicked off last night, of course, with the biggest upset in the college football, the new format history, which isn't all that old, but outside of the BCS area, 9.5 points last night. Biggest upset that we have seen so far. And that, of course, was the University of Miami beating the defending national champs here. and beat them pretty good. They await the winner of the game currently at the Rose Bowl, which is Indiana and Alabama. They are a couple of series into this game with no score. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel here, and it's interesting, Scotty. I mean, when you look at the brackets now, Alabama, Indiana, the winner takes on the 10 seed Miami. That ought to maybe the best part about that win last night is I'm hearing nothing from Notre Dame people. Have you? Where is the Notre Dame AD now? I'm just curious about how we should have been in the play. Nothing. Miami, I also believe now, what are they, 6-0 this year against ranked teams? That's it. Yeah. So at least we don't have to hear from Notre Dame people. Maybe that's the most. The bad news is you're going to have to hear from the University of Miami. The U fan base has been waiting for this for over 20 years, Scott, and they are going to milk it for all it's worth. I can promise you that.
With Michael Irvin on the sidelines, how over the top was that? I mean, please, one thing for him, he has always been, he does go to these games. He's going to games against Stetson and acting like that. Yeah. So he is, to his credit, he's that kind of lunatic all year long at these games. But it was Ray Lewis that I was like, could you imagine being on the defensive side of the ball and Ray Lewis is standing on your sideline and you're like, wow, if I missed that tackle, like my word. I go back to the sideline. Forget about the coaches. I got to go deal with Ray Lewis.
Exactly.
I'll be face down with a knife in my back. Oh, my goodness.
Exactly. I was like, my goodness. Jimmy Johnson was there. Ed Reed. All of them. Impressive. I've always said college football is better. It's more exciting when the University of Miami is relevant, period. It just is. And this is the first time in a long time. But they're going to have to take on the winner of one of these games here. And I don't know. It feels like the winner of the national champion coming out of this side of the bracket, Scotty, whether it's Indiana, Alabama, or versus Miami, whoever wins that game, you think has the inside track to win it all?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. If it ends up being Georgia, right? So they take on the winner of Ole Miss, Georgia. I mean, Carson Beck versus his former team. I mean, it writes the script as far as college football is concerned, right? And we'll get all the dirty stories on why they pushed him out, or he decided to leave, or they didn't want to pay him $4 million like Miami did. That could get really ugly, over the next week or so. So that's set up perfectly. So we're doing a game last night. And I made a point of tracking this down. To start the game, Georgia was plus 440. Mississippi was 20-1 to win the national championship. Based on, we wanted to see if, in fact, Ohio State lost, how far those odds would drop. And they did drop, because now their road theoretically is easier. Georgia's only 3-1, and Ole Miss is only 13-1. So it dropped a lot, knowing that they now don't have to beat Ohio State. But I got to tell you, Miami's no easy. It was never about talent with Miami, Joe. Right? They're going to have 10 guys get drafted, just like Ohio State's going to have 10 guys get drafted. Right? It's all about really the head coach. To tell you the truth, it's not even about Carson Beck in my mind. It's all about goofy Mario Cristobal, and will he screw up somewhere along the line? He's the college football's version of the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell. He's an accident waiting to happen. So, but it was never really about Miami not being talented and capable. So
they've just never had. They put up 40 points a year last year. That number one draft pick in Cam Ward. They couldn't stop a nosebleed on the defensive side of the ball. So I give Cristobal credit. He's like, this has got to change. Like, we can't be scoring 40 points a game, and we can't get out of our own way because we can't stop anybody. Well, they're stopping a lot of teams this year. So the defense, I think, was the big key for the U this year. Getting the right coordinator, getting the right guys in the trenches. And they got, like you mentioned, they got a couple of guys that can get after the quarterback who will be playing on Sundays next year. I can assure you of that. So the U advances. They'll take on Georgia or Ole Miss. That's the game coming up later. We'll have more on that as In-Game Live Game Day continues.
let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. Unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this him maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league?
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also say healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. It is a new year, 2026. Can't believe it. I can't think of any better way to start than talking some football, some college football with our good friend, the one and only Mr. Colby Dant. There's nothing like feeling like you lose a bet right off the bat there, Scotty, to start in 2026, where now I got to open it up with Colby Dant, our good friend. Colby, always a pleasure. The good news is you don't get to make fun of Oklahoma State anymore. I guess the bad news is that some way, somehow, you're going to convince me to take the 10.5 points with Illinois State against Montana coming up for FCS. But that's it. Different conversation. Let's start with the game right now. Indiana, Alabama, no score, under 2 minutes to go, but Indiana in the red zone. Tell us, what were you thinking about this game originally? We did see some late Indiana money and a lot of under money come in late here. So what were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm on the Hoosiers, but I will say, and I've lived in LA for 22 years. I was told that it was going to rain all day, and look, I was weary, but I still thought, okay, if, in case they're right, I definitely got to go in because Alabama can't run the ball. But classic LA weathermen, because as you can see, it rained a little bit this morning, and it's looking like a nice day. I mean, you just got to watch the information you're fed, because this looks nice outside right now.
Mm-hmm. It was pouring last night. I will say that, and listen, the weathermen here in New York are no better than those in Los Angeles. But it was, to be fair, it was just pouring last night. They showed it. So, but for now, and they were showing them squeeging the turf there. It was so muddy and everything. But it actually looks like they did a pretty good job with the field. I mean, it looks, really good. Yeah. So any chance, with that in mind, does that change your thinking at all with Indiana now that Alabama might be able to throw the ball with a little more success?
I mean, it makes me a little more nervous, certainly, because Alabama is such a, look, Ohio State was kind of like a mini version of Alabama when you really think about it. They were 62nd in rushing. Alabama's like 120 in rushing, but you don't normally see Ohio State 62nd in rushing or Alabama in the bottom 15. So they were very predictable against Miami last night. And I thought the similar thing just with Bama the whole year. They can't establish the run. They haven't really, except for the Eastern Illinois game or something. There's when they were able to actually, cook the books a little bit. But so I mean, it being nice weather, I think, I expect the passing offense to be a lot better. So it puts my 7 points in doubt a little bit, but I still think Indiana's going to win the game. And I'd say Indiana's been the more complete team all year, and I think that they're control the line of scrimmage. So that's the real reason why I ended up basically. But I did factor in that it was supposed to rain all day. These bozos. But anyway,
yeah. No, that's it. It serves you rightfully. You should have been an LA weatherman because it's like listening to them pick games. It's the same thing. Like, does he watch football? Like, do you have any idea what's going on? I can't go with you. Let me ask you this, though, because the winner of this game is taking on Oregon, who we just watched. I don't know if as much as it was it Texas Tech's awful. I've never seen Texas Tech was one of the best scoring teams in the country. They blew everybody out offensively. They looked like they've never played the game earlier today. I don't know how much stock to put into, all right, Oregon is the team to beat, or how much, wow, Texas Tech, that was just the biggest choke job we've seen.
Yeah, it's tough to take away the credit from Oregon because they made the plays, but Texas Tech, look, and I bet Texas Tech, and my one concern was Baron Morton. And boy, I pinpointed that on the show last night when we were talking, but I just, that was the difference in the game to me. Texas Tech's defense actually played awesome to me. Like, their D-line still lived up to the hype. But Oregon, I wonder because JMU had put up over 500 yards against them, and I know a lot of people are saying that was in charity. That's not accurate. They had over 200 yards at halftime. I mean, Texas Tech had I think it was 80 yards at halftime. This is more about Texas Tech's offense. Now, obviously, some of that credit deserves to be Oregon, but these teams that get the bye week now, 0-6 in 2 years, 0-6 in 2 years. Of having the bye week, and they looked at a sync, they looked at a rhythm, and the same can be said for Ohio State last night, specifically in the first half, is they just looked, there's no rhythm to it. And because it's different than the NFL. The NFL, you get 1 week. You're basically giving these guys like 4 weeks off. So we're learning as we go here. But I think I'll probably end up fading Oregon next week, though. Unless Bama wins it, because then I think Oregon matches up pretty well. But I think I think I'll end up probably fading Bama there, but I'm excited about the Georgia Miami rematch. Yeah. Or not rematch, but the Carson Beck. Yeah.
Yeah. This is all subject to change, right? Because we know it's going to go to at least 16 next year. But not only are the bye teams 0-6, Colby, they've held the lead for less than 5 minutes combined in those 6 games,
which is crazy.
So now last year we had a couple of teams that got byes that we realized really shouldn't. Boise State, maybe Arizona State, right? So that skews it a little bit. But the bottom line is these teams are not handling the bye. But what's the alternative? Do you want to play another game? Maybe they will. Maybe with 16 teams, there won't be any byes, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, Arizona State actually held their own in that game. They probably should have won that game, but Boise, you're right. But Oregon was the 1 seed. They were down 34-6 or something in the mid-second quarter.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think a month off in the sport of football, you see it. We saw Florida State take it to Alabama week 1 because you see just rust build up, and it takes a while to get in rhythm. So I just think it's a bad model. Lanning said this on a press conference, I think, like earlier this week. You gotta get rid of the conference championships or something and just go bang, bang, bang. Because the more time off, I think it's worse for the viewer. I think like that Texas Tech game, man, I had a hard time staying awake. I'm sitting there like, gosh, it's another 1 yard run, right? It's another interception or overthrown pass. So for the viewer also, I think this matters. And the TV networks, there's a reason why Rutgers and UCLA are in the same conference. So TV networks say something, right?
Right. Well, is, that's why having 16 teams is not going to help anybody, because you're going to have an entire week of total blowouts. And I mean, those were some of the least watched college football playoff games with JMU and Tulane. Like, nobody wants that. Like, no, give us Arch Manning, give us the 12 best teams in the country that people will watch, and that'll be good to go. Having said that, I'm curious. I don't know if you heard this, Scott, but he apparently said he can't wait for the rematch, Carson Beck versus, but doesn't Georgia have a game to play first coming up tonight? So if I was to duck something, it sounds like Colby has already pushed all in on Georgia beating Ole Miss. Is that correct? Am I in the right ballpark, Colby?
Yes, and one of the teams that lost last year with the bye week was Georgia, but that was a little different scenario because their quarterback was injured. Their quarterback got injured in the SEC championship. I think the fact that they played Ole Miss in the first game, where Ole Miss needed to win that game and actually did damage the first 3 quarters. But I think that they showed them their fastball, and you're giving Kirby Smart 3 weeks to prep for this. I also think that if you watch that Ole Miss Georgia game, that's the game where Georgia figured out who they were. So I love Georgia in this spot. Lay it.
I don't see that. My problem is, are you how much? And we'll answer this when we come back here, Colby. Because Scott, I want to get your thought on this too, because I've been thinking about it now for the last week and a half, and I can't put a value on not having Lane Kiffin on the sideline. I don't know what that's worth against this team. So we'll talk about that as in-game live game day continues on the.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. Unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and you may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league?
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. A very happy New Year to you. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. Let's bring in our good friend, meteorologist Colby Dance, who picks weather reports like he picks games in L.A. there. How's that rain doing, by the way, at the Rose Bowl? Oh, there is no rain, but there is points. I believe we got a field goal from Indiana, 3-0 right there, Colby. But we're talking about this upcoming game tonight between Georgia and Ole Miss, and we've been going back and forth here. And I'll start with you, Colby, and Scott, maybe you can come up with it. I haven't bet the game because I can't figure out the Lane Kiffin factor and what he might be worth to the number. We are seeing Ole Miss money coming in. It's down to 6 in a lot of spots now, but it never hit 7 during the week. And so it looks like, yes, Georgia may win, but is Georgia going to win by a touchdown? And I'm going, when push comes to shove, Lane Kiffin not making the decisions. What do you think that's worth, Colby, to the spread?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely an impact of. I mean, it was an 8-point game in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Georgia's playing a lot better ball ever since then. Remember, Georgia had a lot of underclassmen this year. They kind of grew up right before our eyes. But yeah, I mean, I think it definitely. I would say at least a field goal, right? I would say at least a field goal because you got to think Kiffin. Now, I guess you could play it the other way though. He does go for a lot of 4th downs. Maybe Golden would be a little more conservative. But I went in on Georgia. I like Kirby Smart in the second matchup. Like I know they didn't lose the first one, but they threw out their best tape in the first game because Ole Miss was playing for the SEC championship potentially at that point. So I just like Kirby Smart being able to study that for a month, and then being able and then I have no idea that. What is the locker room in Oxford, Mississippi? Like, I mean, I know it worked against Tulane, but okay, a lot of teams would have beat Tulane. So I still think this is where we find out, and this is where you have half the coaches are already on LSU staff. They're already recruiting and stuff. So how much are you really paying attention to stuff? I got to go with Georgia. I think against the best coach in the game probably right now, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, Georgia doesn't lose these games. There's always a but, when it comes to gambling, right? But I will tell you, Georgia is 44-5 their last 49 games against SEC teams, with 3 of those losses coming against Alabama. So they only lost 2 other games in their last 40-plus games. However, here's the but. One of them was last year. They lost to Ole Miss. Don't forget last year, 28-10. So, but I think, I'm a big motivational guy and all that, not so much X's and O's. And I think they used the Lane Kiffin stuff to their advantage against Tulane. But I think that was their Super Bowl. That was their championship. That was, we're going to show the coach, we don't need him, blah, blah, blah. You won that, and now you're left, okay. You think you'd be able to get up for a game against Georgia with everything riding on it, but I just wonder, too. I really do. That was a misleading final. I will say earlier, right? It was an 8-point Georgia win, but Ole Miss was leading the 4th quarter. I mean, they could have won that game. Turned out they didn't even cover. I think they were getting 7 or 7.5, if memory serves me right. Mm-hmm. But that said, you can't bet against Kirby and Georgia in spots like this. So if I had to, I put them in a money line parlay with Indiana. I wasn't comfortable really laying the touchdown basically with each team. But if you had to, that's where I would go, Joe.
Feels like we're going to get. Are we getting another shootout, Colby? Is it points coming here tonight? Because the total feels, we've seen nothing but unders so far in these games. But this one's still hovering around, 55 and a half? I mean, if we're going to get a shootout, is this the game that we're going to get it on?
I'm reluctant to believe Ole Miss is going to have success the second time, but I mean, I think Georgia could score points. And I mean, another thing, guys, is the all those coaches that are at LSU. Well, guess what? The portal opens tomorrow, and most of these deals happen right now, yesterday. So it's like, I just don't see how everyone can be on the same page. And then also giving Kirby Smart all your best reads, all your best looks that you did back in November, and giving him a month to prepare for that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe Ole Miss has got some guys on offense that they could just score probably regardless, but I just can't see them doing what they did the first time.
Still a backup quarterback. I mean, let's be realistic here. I mentioned it to you early, and I know Scott, Scott just is not like Illinois State here, but I got a lot of people telling me that you need to take the points here. In a 10.5 seems a little bit a lot for this FCS championship coming up. And what is it, Montana, right? Laying the double digits. Is that a bit
Montana
much,
State,
Colby? Or what? Yeah, Montana State.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, is it too much?
Look, Illinois State has been road warriors. They're Mad Max over here. They did this. They won at Southeast Louisiana to open the playoffs. Yep. Then they won at North Dakota State. Then at UC Davis. Then at Villanova. I mean, they're hitting the road more than the Stones in '69. So like this right here is and you gotta love the fact that it's closer geographically. It's not that far away. Nashville, Tennessee. I'm actually going to be at this game. I'm going to go to this game. Ooh. And then you add in Montana State just won the biggest game in the history of Montana football by beating their arch rivals, Brawl of the Wild, in the Final Four. I look, at least take the points. I think the money line's worth a shot just because of the emotions that Montana State just went to sticking it to their arch rivals. So yeah, give me the points. These Road Warriors, Tommy Rittenhouse, the quarterback there. Look, he threw 5 interceptions at North Dakota State. And they still won the game. And he threw the most important touchdown after those 5 interceptions. He's gutsy. Let's go.
Scotty.
Maybe an over. How about an over? I don't know if I can. Am I going to go against Illinois State one more time? I didn't bet him against Southeast Louisiana, but I bet him all the others against them. I can't believe they beat Villanova. I'm going to lay the 10.5.
What is the total there, Colby? Is it going to be a shootout?
56.
What was it? 56? You said?
Yeah, 56.5.
Ooh, I would go under. I would go under actually.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold.
But a more. Yeah. Well, the more important question: what is the weather going to be there? Because whatever you tell us, we're going to assume it's going the other way. So just. Think about it, Colby. Just think about it. Happy New Year, brother. Always a pleasure. In-game live game day on the grid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales at Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October, unless they get a really good veteran quarterback. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day as we look to wrap up this first hour together here on New Year's Day. College football, the playoffs, alive and well. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. And all right, Scotty, a couple of things happened with this Indiana and Alabama game. I don't know what the hell play call that was, Kalen DeBoer, on a 4th and 1 at your own 35-yard line. I don't so much mind that you went for it. but they ran like an end around stretch play and they didn't get it. And they just gave the ball back to Indiana on Alabama's 35-yard line. So, you know, call me crazy. If I need a yard, I'm trying to go forward. I'm not trying to go lateral here, Scott. And that's exactly what they did, and they got stuffed.
Yeah, it's like I always say this, Joe. It's like simple arithmetic. First off, on fourth down, originally they lined up to punt. Then in the punt formation, they got under center and they tried to draw Indiana off sides. That didn't work. Like, okay, that's fine. You know what? The first half, no big deal, right? You call timeout. So they call timeout, and then I thought they were going to punt, right? So then I come back and I see them running the fourth down play that you just described. It's like, okay, but here's the deal, Joe. When it's 4th and 1 and you show you're going for it, think about what the defense is now doing. They're all at the line of scrimmage, right? Because you only need 1 yard. It's not like the 4 or 5 defensive backs and linebackers are all dropping back to pass like it's 1st and 10. They're all at the line. So when you run a play that takes that long to develop, you have 11 defenders now all at the line of scrimmage. You only have 9 blockers, right? I mean, the quarterback's not blocking, and the running back who's got the football's not blocking. So now you got 9 versus 11, and all 11 are right at the line of scrimmage. How the hell are you going to run a reverse, which takes an extra 2 literally seconds to develop? That play is never going to be successful on 4th and 1. Never.
Nope.
Stupid play call.
Nope. I would rather see you throw it at that point.
Right.
If that's what you're going to do. Instead of bringing a guy running parallel with the offensive line who's getting beat off the snap.
Anyway,
I don't get it. Yeah, they don't get it. But there is a big 3rd and 8 coming up here. We'll see if the Alabama defense can hold them to a field goal attempt. But, you know, these are going to be free points if they score anyway here, because that was just Kalen DeBoer. That was awful. And it's a touchdown. So, boy, I hope this doesn't come back and haunt them, Scott, because he's going to have a whole lot of questions to answer here come after this game. And this was the ultimate worry, 21-yard touchdown pass, wide open, by the way, on a 3rd and 8 and on a seam play right up the gut. Nice pass, nice catch. But now you got to play catch up. And this was the thing we were worried about, right? Because now you're going to ask Ty Simpson to drop back 35 times in this game, and here come, they're going to pin their ears back, and here comes this Indiana defense. This could get ugly in a hurry here in this game.
Yeah, I'm looking at the play now. I mean, you said it. You just wide open. You can't give them a free touchdown. And that's basically what you did. You know, you punt the ball away, Joe. It's early 2nd quarter. No big deal. It's only 3-0. You punt the ball away and you stop them. These coaches are all, scratch-off coaches. They have to have that instant gratification. I always, kind of make a parallel to scratch-offs versus lotto. Lotto, you got to wait a couple of days to figure out if you lost. Scratch-off, you want to find out right away. And that's how it is on 4th down. I can't wait another series. I want to get a 1st down now. You're at your own 30-yard line. Even if you got the 1st down, what are you accomplishing, right? It's not like you're at the opposing team's 40, you get a 1st down, and now you're close to scoring. I mean.
Right.
It's just these coaches get exposed in these games, Joe. They you know what it is, Joe? They play so few close games. If you look down, whether it's Alabama or Georgia or Indiana, anyone, they're only playing 2, maybe 3 close games a year. Everything else, when you're at that level, it's all blowouts. You don't have to coach.
Yep.
So they're not used to having to make all these game management decisions, and they show time after time. Like, that's just a dumb play call. It's you punt the ball away.
It really is. Yep. I don't mind the play if you're trying to gain a little momentum here. That's fine. But you got to come up with a bet. You got to go mano a mano winning this in the trenches there. This whole running it makes zero sense there. You're not going to be faster. You're not playing Stetson. You're not playing Illinois State. You're playing the number 1 team in the country, and you think you're going to outrun them? No, you're not. And now you're down 10-0. So we'll see what they got to answer here. We've got more, though. Another hour of in-game live game day straight ahead on the grid.
let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. Unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league?
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel, and Happy New Year to you. Here we go, January 1st, 2026. We got one of the college football playoff games in the books. We watched, Oregon shut out Texas Tech. Just head-scratching performance offensively from Texas Tech earlier today. Oregon wins 23-0. They will go ahead and take on the winner of the game that's currently on at the Rose Bowl, and that's Alabama taking on Indiana. We just witnessed one of the worst play calls we have seen. You know, this is something Mario Cristobal, Scotty, might have tried to pull there back in the day. And 4th and 1, they didn't get it. They ran a stretch play that got blown up. They gave the ball back to Indiana on their own 35. 4 plays later, Indiana touchdown. Now 10-0 in that game. An in-game number in this one, Scotty. What is there any value in thinking maybe we take a look here at Bama? Because this is a pretty important one, because I'm seeing 13.5 now?
13.
Almost 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, 13.5. Listen, you don't have to go back, very far to figure out, certainly Alabama's capable, right? Down 17-0 against Oklahoma a week and a half ago. So we know that they can do it. That's a big jump. Right? 7.5 was a big number, really. Now 13.5, and you're only down, 10. So you got the ball, you moved it out a little bit. They're at their own 31-yard line. Ultimately, is Alabama really going to lose by double digits? That's the question. I mean, I did like Indiana coming in. Now they got it locked. I'd like to see them get a little bit closer to midfield before I hop in again. Because clearly Indiana right now has all the mojo, right? So let them get they got 3rd and 10. I'm looking at now at their own 37-yard line. Now they're a play away from punting this ball back to Indiana, and now Indiana's really looking good. 14.5 is up to now. Oof. They get the ball back and probably go up to 15.5.
Good. Yeah, well, there they go. Punt City here because they can't get out of their own way. 4th down.
4th down.
It's going from bad to worse. That's exactly what's happening. It's going from bad to worse here. And even when Ty Simpson, who, by the way, doesn't look very fast, by the way, kind of looks like Danny Dimes trying to run the ball. Even Danny Dimes has got some wheels, though, but he just looks like he's stuck in the mud there. Not good.
Boy.
So that means the defense is going to have to make a play. Can they, Scotty, is the question. Can the defense of Alabama be on the field this much and not wear down? Yeesh.
Yeah, we'll see. It's amazing. Simpson had a nice little run there, 3, 4, 5 games. But we were talking about that at the top of the show, right? He was one of the leading Heisman candidates, and then it just kind of fell off. And it just, he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he's really anything great. Just that, like a lot of guys, they did 3, 4, 5 game stretch there. Whereas now you're going to ask him to, if they give up some points here, and it's a little bit, they're at Indiana's thrown 43, so they got good field position, but. If you make this Alabama team really an all-passing team, this could get ugly early for Alabama.
Yeah,
but
big time. Yeah, big time ugly here. Big down now coming up, and again, we've got about 8 minutes to go before the break here, Scott. It just feels like. Oh, boy, you're going to have to do better than what do they have, 50 yards of total offense right now, Alabama? I don't even think it's 3 to 1. Really?
Yeah, it might be because of that last drive, because they got about the 25 yards. So, yeah, they got 35 yards passing and 16 yards rushing, 51 yards of offense in a quarter and a half. I mean, we've seen some good defensive performances. College football has flipped. There was a point, where everyone was winning games 35-30. But, you look at the Miami game last night, both Ohio State and Miami obviously played great defense. The Texas Tech and Oregon game, 2 really good defenses, a shutout. I know Tech gave up a 23, but we know that was misleading. They were playing great defense. And now we're getting another good defensive performance. So the better teams are the ones that really play defense. It's not the ones that score 40 points. Because there's such a difference, Joe, maybe than in any other sport. The level of these really, really good college teams versus just the good teams, there's such a huge difference. And that's why it's hard to look at stats and trends and different things because, you're going to put up 45 points against the bad teams or the Illinois States of the world, right? All the cupcakes that you have on your schedule. But when you really face a really good team, not just an average team, there is such a difference between an elite team and even a good team in college football. The numbers are just all skewed in college football. So you're seeing it now.
And there's something to be said for, strength of schedule. We say it all the time. There's something to be said for being able to test yourself. And let's face it, Ohio State, we hear so much about the Big Ten. The ACC's down with Big Ten. You know what? They never faced the team as physical all year long as Miami as they faced there. They didn't face anybody even remotely close to it. And the 2 teams that are physical, Ohio State lost to them. Indiana in the Big Ten championship and Miami in the playoff game there. So, but who did you play? That they weren't always the more physical team, you know what I mean, on the field, Scotty. And I think there's something to be said for testing and pushing your team at some point during this. Do not get, these cupcake games that you're going to, an entire season worth, and then you get to this point, who'd you play? Like, what did you learn during the season? Where's the adversity? The teams that didn't have any, say what you want. Oregon played a ridiculous schedule this year, it felt like, Scott. It got easy towards the end, but they pushed themselves, lost the game. They had to go through some adversity, so not a shock that they end up winning that game against Texas Tech. My question is, could it be what? Indiana, Oregon, too?
Yeah, could be.
Wow.
Could be, right? And all the Big Ten naysayers, they're going to have a tough pill to swallow if that ends up being the case, right? Yeah, the only really, Ohio State, the only other one was Texas, and they did win that one, but it was only 14-7.
And that was game 1,
That game 1, but it's not like they ran roughshod over Texas. Obviously, they struggled a little bit. So, yeah, it's just I think that's the one benefit of having more playoff teams. It's not that you really need 16. It's that now these teams can schedule some really good non-conference games, and you don't have to worry about losing game 1 and your season is over, or even 2 losses and your season is over. Now you can, with 16 teams, you could probably survive 3 losses. Like the Texas and the Notre Dames of the world would have gotten in, right, with a 16-team playoff. So maybe that'll encourage these teams to play some tougher games. Because you could say, well, we only play who's on our schedule. And I get that. It's not your responsibility for other conference teams to be good. But you do have 3-4 games that you could fool around with and schedule really good teams and help you in the long run.
Or here's an idea. Do not give us a weekly BS show telling us what the rankings are and you pigeonhole yourself and then you box yourself into a corner because you had a team here 4 weeks ago and now you can't. Yeah, don't give it to us until it matters, right, Scotty? Right before the conference championships, then roll it out. And that's it. And this way, I guarantee you will be able to figure out who the 12 best teams in the country are at that point.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Notre Dame would have been in.
About going back. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Well, because now you have to justify it. Now you have to figure out what's my excuse. Don't give us that. That whole thing was never meant. That was only ESPN trying to make more money and figure out a way to be able to get rate. Don't do it. I don't care. Just give me the 12 best teams. Give me one show that announces it at the end, and that's all that matters. And this way, everybody, you'll have the 12 best teams in the country, bar none. I don't think it's even going to be an issue there. But here we are. We've got a, 3-loss Alabama team right now, getting beat pretty bad here by Indiana. It's 10-0, 7 minutes to go, but it's been all Indiana so far. Could it be another blowout? Oof, yikes. In-game live game day continues on the grid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and you may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel, and well, we got the defense of Alabama stuck it. Scotty, they held up, got the ball back now. Alabama will have it right around, around their 15-yard line, somewhere along those lines. Still 10-0. It would be really good to see some sort of sustained drive here, wouldn't it be, from Alabama? Move the chains, give the defense a rest, and see if they can find any rhythm, because They got a total of 58 yards in this game so far, and that's not going to cut it, Scotty. Who are we kidding?
Yeah. Bad break for Alabama. In that it looked like, Joe, Indiana had 3rd and long, 3rd and 12. They threw a pass over the middle. Guy caught it, and to me, it looked like, he took 2 steps before he fumbled the ball after being hit by a Bama defensive back, and Alabama recovered. They would have had it at their own 40 versus it being 4th down and now starting a drive at their own 15, and now they got it after the 23. But I don't know why that wasn't a fumble. I mean, to me, it took 2 steps. But either way, Bama's got the right. You got 6 minutes left. Moment of truth here a little bit for Alabama. Do something. At least don't go 3 and out. Still getting 12.5 down 10. So that's a little bit better. I'm waiting to see, I want to hop in. I did like the under, but I'm kind of looking for a middle here. It's at 36.5. You have 6 minutes left in the first half. I'd like to get it under that 35.5 mark, even though we got a field goal already. But maybe even under the 34.5 and get it a little bit 34.5, 33.5, and then I might try and middle my under from the original number. Got to get some points, right?
You got to get something. Listen, I think points, they're not going to get shut out here in the first half. I don't see that at all. They are now finding the seams, and they're starting to get it. Williams, big catch for Alabama. He's one of the best receivers in the country. So they have the playmakers. They just got to get a little bit of rhythm. Looks like they're going up tempo, Scotty, too, apparently here. No huddle, and it looks like they're just lining up, and that's a good way to go. That definitely helps with the over, I would imagine, provided they don't turn the ball over or do anything stupid. But it looks like they have tried to make an adjustment here, and that adjustment is get to the line of scrimmage, we're calling a play, and let's see what happens. I don't mind that, Scotty. I think it breaks up the monotony here, and certainly the defense now feels like they might be on their, the back of their toes here a little bit.
Yeah. What it really does more than anything, Joe, is it just prevents Indiana from subbing, too. It's not necessarily a hurry-up offense, and that they're not calling a play, at least the couple I've seen here in the corner of my eye. They're not, like, running quick little plays like the old Buffalo Bills, but they're getting to the line of scrimmage. So Indiana can't sub, and then Alabama's calling a play at the line of scrimmage, so it's still taking maybe the good, 25, 30 seconds, but that's what you're preventing Indiana from doing. So, listen, DeBoer's a good head coach. We don't disagree with what he did earlier with that 4th down play, but he's still a good head coach. He's got to do something. I don't think they're just going to roll over. That's why I'm confident you'll get some points in this game. But
I agree.
It's funny. They lowered, it was 46 to start, and like 6 minutes in, there was no score, and they lowered it into like the 39 area, the 40 area. And I was going to say, like, man, they dropped almost a full touchdown off after only 6 minutes. But now they seem a little hesitant on going lower than 36.5. They've been kind of settling in on that number here for a little while. It's not dropping as quite as it was before.
Nope. And it makes sense here. Now we have a oh boy, that's not good. That looks like a fumble. Yeah, that looks like a fumble. That looks like a fumble.
Alabama fumble.
Sayin made a great play with his legs, and on his way down to the ground, he got drilled in the back, and the ball just popped right out. And that was it. So he needs to understand how to go down and not take hits like this. That will cause it to will dislodge the ball, and now Indiana takes over at the 40-yard line. So there you go. Wow. That's the difference. Got to make a play. And this goes, I was thinking about this too there, Scotty. It's not like not like the Ohio State court. These kids are freshmen, right? I mean, I think there is something to be said with Mendoza, who's been playing forever, and Beck, who's been playing. These guys have been here and done this even more. You know what I mean? At Oregon has been here. He was the backup to Dylan Gabriel last year. I mean, he spent a year in there learning this. There's something still to be said, I think, for experience. And we watched a freshman quarterback for Ohio State just be overmatched across the board. And we're kind of watching it right now with the Alabama quarterback. Same thing.
Yeah. Just go down. You had the first down.
Yeah.
Joe. That's the crazy
Exactly.
thing. It was 3rd and like 7 or 8, whatever, but he had the first down and just fall down. Instead, he kind of stands up. He pretends he's Jackson Dart. One guy hits him, another guy hits him again, and ball pops loose, and then boom, there goes your drive. And now you hand the ball back to Indiana. It's not that Texas Tech really moved the ball at all, but it's kind of like the Texas Tech game where they make these turnovers that they really haven't made all season long. And that's what Alabama's doing here, making mistakes. The fourth down play, this play, you got the ball midfield. You're in a position to at least put 3 points on the board, if not even more than that. So now you got to hold on for dear life. Indiana ball midfield.
And he was hurt to begin with. Now, he's now either going to go to the bench or he's going to go. I mean, it looks like that was a shot to the back, the ribs, right? I mean, that was. He was
kind of spinning around.
That was just ugly,
bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of got hit by one guy. He was spinning the other way, and then another guy came in and clocked him. If he can't play.
As soon as he got the first, Scotty, just fall down. Just slide. That's it. I mean, these kids just don't get it. And kudos, great play by the Indiana defense, who they were coming in here. He took one big hit and followed it with another one on his way down, and that's what dislodged it. And he's not exactly the biggest kid either, by the way. I mean, so would it shock me if that's a broken rib? Nope, would not shock me at all the way he took that shot. So we'll have to see here. 10-0, that's a 2-minute warning. Indiana right around almost at the 50-yard line here. We'll see if they can add points to their score. If not, oh boy, Alabama can count their blessings if this thing. Yeah,
and they don't have a backup quarterback, Joe. Like the next guy in line has thrown 16 passes all season. So.
Wildcat, baby. It's the Wildcat, Alabama. Let's see you call that one, Kalen DeBoer. In-game live game day continues.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. A big first down here for Indiana. Under 2 minutes to go before halftime here in a 10-0 game right now. Alabama just can't get out of its own way. They turned the ball over again. The first time was on a 4th and 1 that they went backwards on and gave Indiana, great field position there at their own 35-yard line. Couple of plays later, Indiana takes advantage, scores the touchdown. They weren't driving until Julian, of course, takes a shot in the back, fumbles the ball. And now, Scotty, here they go with another opportunity. They're almost in field goal range at the very least with about a minute to go here. But it just feels like, yeah, you got to do everything in your power now to keep them out of the end zone, because 13-0 is one thing, 17-0 is a totally different animal, Scotty, heading into the break.
Yeah, I know it was 17-0 against Oklahoma, and I know Oklahoma's got a great defense too. No, don't worry about that. But how many times can you go down that road and expect success, right?
Exactly.
It's just it's hard, and it is really hard to do. And they got a pick six as part of that, comeback. Oklahoma turned the ball over on a botched punt as part of that comeback as well. So, you can't expect those things from this Indiana team. This is a big series. You got to hold to at least a field goal, get to halftime. I forget who got the ball first. I'll double check on that. But, get to halftime, only down 2 scores. And, read the riot act to the kids and say we played our worst half of the season, which they probably have, and we're down 2 scores.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the worst thing in the world. Not a great situation, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So you hold them to a field goal here. But Mendoza made a veteran play, Joe. Like we were talking about, Simpson just get down after you get the first down. He didn't, and he got clocked. Whereas Mendoza, he's scrambling around. And boy, I tell you what, he had like 4 or 5 Alabama defensive linemen surrounding him. Somehow or another, he got out of that pack, got the first down, and then dove head first, and boom, there you go. Indiana first down.
He avoided the hit, unlike Simpson, who took not one but 2 hits. And I still have not seen a picture of him since since they went to break, and the doctors were they were building a wall around him because it looked like right in the back, could have been rib cage, could have been just not. It was rough, but. Got 3rd and 1 here now. It looks like 1:20 to go. Can the defense come up with a stand, hold them to at least a field goal try? Although it looks like, I guess they're reviewing the spot of the ball, Scott. Is that what this is all about? I think they looks like they're all. I mean, there wasn't a targeting or anything, right? Am I missing anything, or is this just a spot of the ball?
Should be first down.
I don't know.
Right? I mean,
he looked like he got it by 2 yards. I don't know what we're looking at here.
Yeah,
I don't.
But they're
clearly
just yapping. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
what we mean, that's not even close to first, not to be a first down. So,
yeah, I don't know what that is, but they do have the headset and the monitor out. The ref is under the hood, looking at what.
Maybe they didn't stop the clock because it's in the final 2 minutes. Yeah, the final 2 minutes, the clock is supposed to start or stop after first downs, and maybe they forgot.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess they're saying their ruling on the field was they spotted the ball at the 35-yard line. I believe that was enough for a first down one way or the other.
Anyway, yeah.
But maybe Signet. Well, somebody had to come from up top, right? Under 2 minutes, Signetti couldn't challenge it. Is that what it is?
They kept the clock rolling because they had 58 seconds, and now it's up to 1:20. So final 2 minutes in college football goes back to the old rules. I know you know this, Joe, but you got to stop the clock on a first down. I don't think they did. The clock, kept on rolling down to 58, and then they stepped in and said, "Okay," but it shouldn't take this long.
Makes total sense.
Now they get, but that's probably what they're looking at. So, but I was looking at the backup quarterbacks, Joe, for Alabama, and it's true.
Yes.
One guy's thrown 16 times, 13 of 16. The other guy's thrown 11 of 15. So they have nobody on that bench with any kind of serious experience behind Simpson. So
by the way, Scotty, they spotted the ball 2 yards short. They spotted it at the 35. And now after the review, not only did they put it back to 1:20, but they put it at the 33, which is where it should have been to begin with. So I don't know where they came up with the 35-yard line, but not good here. But they'll have an opportunity to get a couple of more first downs, bleed this clock down. Alabama's got 2 timeouts. It's just not good. 152 total yards to 94. Indiana's beating them time of possession, 3rd down conversions. It's all Indiana. We'll come back. We'll look at it some more as in-game live game day continues here on the...
let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league?
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. Yeah, he's got a Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the Sports Grid Network. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. Happy New Year as we have turned the calendar to 2026. And boy, I tell you, right now it looks like Alabama wishes they could turn the clock back to maybe those Saban days where they could actually run the ball and maybe play a little defense. But they are back against it, 10-0, second and goal. Indiana is going to have an opportunity here with about 21 seconds left to go up at least 16-0, maybe 17-0. And it feels like that might be all she wrote if they do. Let's bring in our good friend, and by the way, touchdown. Let's bring in our good friend Paul Stone here, who is watching this beatdown by Indiana. Extra point pending, Paul, 17-0. It feels like that might be too big a mountain to climb again. It's one thing to do it against OU, but you doing it against Indiana as well?
Yeah, I tell you, Joe, the offense by Alabama just non-existent. You know, there hadn't been many chunk plays. I think Alabama has 94 yards offense on 24 plays in the first half, so just a touch under 4 yards per play. Only 5 first downs, obviously no points. Just seems like it's a heck of a mountain to climb for Alabama. And if their quarterback, Tyler Simpson, if he's injured, you know, they might go to true freshman Keelan Russell from Duncanville, Texas, who was a highly regarded quarterback, but he hadn't played. Indiana just looks dominant. In some ways, this game, somewhat reminiscent of the first game we saw today, between Oregon and Texas Tech. Just not a whole lot of offense for Alabama, and Indiana clearly looks like the superior team to this point.
Surprised at that, Paul? I mean, listen, they were 7.5-point favorites, which is a decent number, but I and I did like Indiana, but I didn't think it would be this, easy, I'll say, so far. Well, what do you expect coming in?
No, Indiana clearly, I think, the superior team on paper, but I thought Alabama could keep it close. I played the Crimson Tide small, not one of my bigger plays, but I played them small, got the 7.5, but I don't think it's gonna get there. This Indiana team just continues to impress. They're just so well-rounded, and I think in retrospect, I mean, Kalen DeBoer is a riverboat gambler. I mean, he gambled before he came to Alabama, and he takes chances now that he's in Tuscaloosa. But I think if he had it to do over again, the fourth down play where they did the little forward pitch to Jeremy Bernard, and he was stopped well short. That kind of began the downslide, I think, for the Crimson Tide. I think if he had that to do over with, he would have punted he would punt the football, and maybe we'd have a closer game right now. But it seems like an avalanche at this point.
Well, you mentioned it, Paul. I mean, it was just a head-scratching effort offensively from Texas Tech. And I give Oregon's defense credit. We know they've been elite all year long, but I thought we'd get some sort of pushback by Texas Tech's offense there, especially since they, one of the top-scoring teams in the country, yardage. I mean, you name it. Offensively, they were pretty good, but they got blanked. And let's just say, so Oregon... And let's say it's Indiana. That's round 2, right? Because we got a glimpse of that earlier this year. Who do you give in a rematch situation like that? Who would you give the nod to or the advantage to? Is it Cignetti or is it Lanning there in that spot?
I don't know. I think Indiana's probably a better football team, but I think there may be, just all things being considered equal, the fact that you got beat, if you're Oregon, you got beat by 10 points, 30-20 on your home field back on October 11th. Maybe you have a little more juice, but obviously in the national semifinals, everybody's going to come to play. But it would be interesting to see, what Oregon would do differently the second time around, because there was nothing flukish about that victory by the Hoosiers at Autzen Stadium. I mean, they were clearly the better team that day, went in there and defeated Oregon, obviously in a place that's a tough place to win. So, man, what a matchup that would be. And it looks like we're going to get, like you said, Oregon and Indiana round 2.
That's crazy.
Got round two. Georgia Ole Miss. Georgia laying 6.5. Paul, over under 54.5. Haven't really seen that much scoring in these big bowl games. Although yesterday we had a bunch, 4-1 over yesterday. But how do you see this one playing out?
Obviously it's been well chronicled, Scott, that Lane Kiffin has left Oxford for LSU, now in Baton Rouge, although he did want to coach Ole Miss through the playoffs, but the administration said no go. So now you got Pete Golding there as the head coach, and he'll continue to be the head coach in the 2026 season and beyond. Leading into last week's game when they played Tulane, I was adamant in my position that Lane Kiffin not being on the sideline won't make any difference. And the reason I didn't think it would make any difference, not to slight Tulane, but was primarily because of the opponent. Tulane was simply going to be outclassed by Ole Miss. They had already met once, earlier in the season in September, and that they weren't of the same caliber. And anybody could have coached Ole Miss last week, and they would have beat Tulane. I think in this game, however, playing someone your own size, playing Georgia, I think it might make a little bit of a difference. Ole Miss is fortunate that a lot of the coaches who are following Kiffin to LSU have remained and will coach the team Ole Miss through the playoffs, including their offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr. But I think tonight, in the game that figures to be tighter against a more quality opponent, Kiffin's absence will be felt. I kind of went back and forth on this game, but saw some 6 a little bit earlier today, laid the 6 with Georgia. I just think the second half of the season, they've been, maybe not quite as good as Indiana, but they've been about as good as anybody down the stretch, and the offense has gotten better, and the defense, although maybe not up to the standard of some of those national championship defenses, but they've been awfully salty as well. So I think Georgia's going to take care of business tonight against Ole Miss in that second matchup in the Sugar Bowl.
It kind of writes itself, doesn't it, Paul? Because then you got good old Beck taking on Kirby Smart and his former team there. Yeah. How impressed were you with Miami last night and what they did and how they were the more physical team? They just beat them in the trenches, man, bad. Ohio, and not a lot of teams do that to Ohio State ever. That looks like vintage old school University of Miami. What did you see from them that we should consider? Can they really run the table and win a national championship?
I think they absolutely can. I mean, they're not as well balanced as Indiana, but they're heavily relying on that defense. But I think now they have maybe 46 sacks on the season with Reuben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mesidor. Man, they can really pressure the quarterback from both sides. And, you know, we talk about in football games, you got to have guys make plays, and that extends to the defense. And we saw Uyangale today for Oregon do the strip fumble play against Morton there that kind of broke the game open. And then last night for Miami, there in the second quarter, Keontae Scott, he jumps that route. He read it perfectly and just cut the pass off and took it 72 yards for a touchdown, 14-0. Miami leads and Ohio State's behind the 8 ball. And I think that was the difference in the game. So this Miami team, man, when you start getting confidence, you start getting momentum, you start believing. And Carson Beck, man, he has protected the football in these 2 playoff games. This is a guy who's thrown 30 career interceptions. He hadn't turned the ball over in either of these playoff games. So if Beck protects the football, and he doesn't have to be a game winner, if he can just be a game manager, that defense could perhaps, you know, send them all the way to the national championship.
They have reached halftime in this game. We figured it would be 17-0. It is, Paul. So if you didn't have a dog in the fight, 17.5 and 31.5 are your total. 37.5 are your totals. Would you go in at this point anywhere?
You know, I think on a full game total of 37.5, I might take the underdog and the under. Might be my position there. Yeah, maybe for them to tighten it up. But they might not score, you know, so I think the under is probably the better bet.
Please don't say that, Paul. We got to be on air for 2 more hours. We need something to happen in this game. Paul Stone, always a pleasure, my man. Enjoy the games as in-game live game day continues.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. Unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and you may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league?
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here on the SportsGrid Network. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. Joe Raineri alongside Scotty Wetzel. And somebody's going to have to wake up this Alabama offense here because 17-0 at the break. Not going to get it done here, Scott. And I got to give Indiana fans credit. I mean, you're a basketball school, at least you were anyway. But I'm looking at the Rose Bowl, Scott, and there are nothing but Indiana fans everywhere. They showed up and showed out well. Now, Alabama fans are always going to travel. But my goodness, the amount of Indiana fans in Pasadena right now, I guess maybe, just maybe, Indiana turning into a football school now, huh? What do you think?
It's amazing, Joe. I looked it up, and then I just on memory, I know, for the last 50 years, this Indiana team, you had the Antoine Randall L years that they weren't too bad. You had 1 or 2 years of Michael Penix Jr. before he transferred that weren't too bad. A couple of other years that weren't too bad, but really for the most part, for 50 years, this Indiana football team has been a joke. I mean, what Cignetti has done over the last 2 years, and I kind of thought last year was a little bit of a fluke in that he brought his kids from James Madison over. But he followed that up. He's turned Mendoza into, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. He's going to be probably the number 1 overall pick. I don't know if he's really that good, but the job he's done at turning this team into maybe the best team in the country after literally 40, 50 years of just mediocre at best football. I mean, they've been the doormats of the Big Ten for years, for decades. And now they're on the cusp of maybe, who knows, winning a national championship. I mean, you think about how football has changed, right, in 2025. Between Vanderbilt, which has had some success the Jay Cutler years, but between Vanderbilt and Indiana, 2 perennial doormats of college football, and they're both really good. It is amazing. So, normally this is the time where we put a whole bunch of halftime bets in, Joe, but until I see who's quarterbacking Alabama, I can't do that. I mean, you could take 17.5 with Alabama, but if they have a quarterback who played 5 minutes this year, no matter who it is, I wouldn't take 20 plus points with them. So if it's Simpson, different story. So you really got to find out who's quarterbacking Alabama.
Well, I'll tell you this, Scotty. Team total right now for Bama, 7.5.
Wow.
I mean, 7.5. It's a 17-0 game. I mean, how many points are we getting? So you're telling me we could have back-to-back shutouts in the playoffs? That's just not a good look. That would not be good at all here. But it's not like they had 12 yards in the first half. I mean, they did have it going. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot. The 4th and 1, terrible call. They turned it over on downs. And then the fumble, can they put it together to start the second half?
Well, it's like I said at the top, Joe. I figured somewhere along the line, their inability to run the football is going to, take them down.
Yep.
And if you take out 3 scrambles by Simpson for 17 yards, they've run the ball for 12 yards. I mean, they can't run. Can't run.
Yeah.
And now if you tell me Simpson, even if he does play, he's banged up. That was a little more than just, okay, let's just, get off the field and no big deal. I mean, they were looking at him, and the networks did an awful job of following up and showing him. So they either put him in the tent or they were just ignoring the fact that he was hurt. But it was more than just a whatever. So we'll see. But yeah, if you can't run the ball, 13 yards, 12 yards on 8 carries. That's what they have right now. If you throw out the scrambles by Simpson, you're not going to get it done that way. You're just not.
No. And they did show him. He was still on the sideline after the touchdown, by the way, for Indiana. So he was on the sideline still. So he hadn't run back to the tent or anything along those lines, or to the locker room. But so they did show him there. He wasn't surrounded by anybody. But again, we'll see what he get. We'll see what happens coming out, because you and I both know if that's a rib or if that is some sort of, and he has problems breathing, or it's just not. We'll have to wait to see for sure. No word one way or the other on the broadcast here, Scotty, of is he there? Is he not there? They're right now continuing to show the bands. Okay, but that's how long is this halftime show too? Is it can we get back to playing some football here? Yeah, I mean, this is worse than the Super Bowl. Come on, let's get it going. By the way, still no rain. So anybody that thought the weather might be a problem, it has not turned out to be a problem here. But if you're Indiana in this second half, Scotty, what do we think? I think their team total in the second half, 13, maybe 12.5, 13 points. What do we get? Do they get 30 points in this game, do you think, Scott?
Let's see. A couple things here. They have 17. Their team total is only 11 and a half. If you just go by total for the points, 27 and a half. So they're
Okay.
going to get 11 and a half more points? I would think so. And I'd say the other thing, Joe, is I'm pretty sure, look at a gazillion lines. I'm pretty sure I saw this Indiana line at 17 and a half a moment ago. It's now 20 and a half.
Oh, boy.
Something tells me Simpson is out. If that thing jumped 3 points, and like I said, I'm almost positive that was 17 and a half when it was 17-0 at the half, as it is now. And I remember thinking, okay, you still have to lay a half a point. You have the lead 17. You're still laying a half a point. And they bumped the FanDuel to 20 and a half. That tells me Simpson's not playing. And the boys in Vegas, as I always say, they find out before everybody else. So
yeah, they do.
I'll tell you right now, don't bet Alabama. If you think, okay, I'm only down 17-0 and I'm getting 20 and a half, that kid's not playing second half.
Well, they have the second half line at 2.5 right now. Maybe even 3. So does Indiana win? If Simpson's not playing, call me crazy. They're winning by more than a field goal in the second. They're outscoring them by more than 2.5 or a field goal. 21.5 is the total in that second half. We getting more than 3 touchdowns. That's going to be it depends on what Alabama does. We'll have to wait and see. If he comes out slinging it, maybe. But we'll wait to hear exactly what his status is as in-game live game day continues on the grid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got a Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live game day here as we look to close out another hour together here on the SportsGrid Network. A very happy new year to you. It is 2026, hard to believe, but here we are, January 1st, and we still got a ton of football to be decided. And right now, a big second half almost getting ready to get underway at the Rose Bowl, and it has been all Indiana early, Scotty. But let's think about this realistically. if you took Alabama getting 7.5, you're still very much alive for the cover. Let's just put Alabama winning outright on the side. You're still very much, because you mentioned Alabama's going to start the second half with the ball. I think this number would be grossly overinflated if Simpson wasn't coming back out to start the third quarter. I don't think we're at that point yet. But, if Alabama can get some points on the board in the opening drive, and then this defense has got to make a play. They're not that far off from keeping it within the 7.5 originally, or what did you say the end game? 20.5 right now you can get?
19. They lowered it to 19.5. So someone's betting Indiana or Alabama. So, but still 19.5.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, shutout. You want to bet, if you think, this is going to be, precursor to what we're getting in the second half, you can bet Indiana to get the shutout plus 410 now on FanDuel.
Well, that's a good hedge bet, no? I mean, if you think Alabama and it completely go. The one thing we know about Cignetti is that there will be no taking the foot off the gas regardless. So he's not going to save anything because he knows he's got he's already played Oregon and beat them, and they already seen each other. So it's not, he is just going to, if he can run it down your throat, he's going to do that. And how many rushing yards did they have in that first half, Indiana? They did a pretty good job of running the ball, too.
Yeah, 86 yards. That's not bad, for a half. It's over 170 yards, on pace for. And those are legitimate yards, too. That you take 12 yards away on sacks, and it's actually over 98, actually. So, yeah, they were able to run the football. So that last drive, that last drive after the turnover is the one that scares me if I'm Alabama. Right? You gave them a short field. All right, don't blame the defense on that. They kicked the field goal. Okay, no big deal. We stopped them. It was that last drive where they moved the ball down the field that you just wonder, like, okay, like they were talking about in the first game with Texas Tech. How many times can Alabama's defense go out there? When the opposite, when your offense isn't getting first downs and using up clock, and you're out there all first half basically, that stuff wears on you. So it's only a half, but that last drive by Indiana was the one. Like, if you're going to get that drive in that Indiana offense, then Alabama is in real trouble. Then they're in real trouble.
I agree. And well, they're getting ready here. We'll have kickoff coming up. Also coming up just after the top of the hour. I believe we got 6 games in the NBA slate, Scotty, that will take center stage. So we got actually 5 games.
Five
and
games.
Houston and Brooklyn is going to be the first game up in Brooklyn. That number, that number ballooned here, Scotty, once I think Kevin Porter Jr. has been ruled out for Brooklyn. But Houston, Sengun's in, pretty much has their full complement. 13.5. That's what that spread is. 217.5. That feels like a low total, too, doesn't it, for a Houston team that can drop 120 on anybody? That feels low to me coming up.
Yeah,
right?
Brooklyn's an under team. Yeah, Brooklyn's an under team, believe it or not. 12-5 under. They are last 17 games. Series is actually 8-2 under, but there's different players for both teams, so I wouldn't count on that too much. But Brooklyn does want to walk the ball up the court. They actually play a little bit of defense, but if it's a blowout game and Brooklyn has a bunch of stubs playing, then you kind of throw that out the window. You're right. 217, 216 for an NBA game. Ooh. That is, the boys in Vegas have adjusted their numbers on the Brooklyn Nets because of all their unders. That's for sure.
And I think, listen, Houston and Brooklyn, a couple of top 5, top 7 defensive efficient teams. They're not running up and down the court. I get it. But boy, oh boy, foul shots. Brooklyn to get 100 points and allow Houston to do the heavy lifting, I don't think is out of control. So I might have to take a stab at this low total here and see if we can't get something up and over. At least give me the Houston team total over here at whatever that number must be, which I'm thinking is a little low for sure. But that game, how much?
No, I was going to say that might be the way to go, the Houston team. I'll tell you when we come back.
We'll do it. We'll chug it up. Well, we got more coming. Another hour in-game live game day here.